get our next part of this beautiful event started. This is going to be our conversation, our Women of Achievement Awards conversation, and is powered by Corewell Health and led by 3 female entrepreneurs. So I'm going to bring up on stage, I just met these lovely women, Rosalia Aiello, the owner of Aiello Adult Foster Care. And after moving to the U.S. from the Philippines, Rosalia launched her business with her husband, Steve. We'll have you sit down on the couch. Kara Middleton and her husband, Mark, are the owners of Freshwater Vacation Rentals, which partners with national chains by providing beautiful and unique vacation rental properties all throughout Michigan. And then we have Leilani Norman. She's an entrepreneur who continues to grow her catering business alongside her husband, Aishan. Recently, they have added the delicious offerings of Norman Cafe at the Romulus Athletic Center to their portfolio of successful ventures. So please, let's welcome our esteemed panel. All right. Now I have a mic that goes with me too. So I read from that script, but I'm just going to ask questions. Like, we're going to have a conversation, because I think for people who want to start their own businesses, have watched you grow your business, know it's running in a successful way, they want to know what's the magic ingredient of all of this. But I think that you all 3 have unique stories and unique businesses, and we can start with you, Rosalia, though. For you, you immigrated from the Philippines to be able to start, and then you ended up launching this company. Was that your intention all along? How difficult was that for you?
Not really, but I just have a passion taking care of the elderly. So since I took care of my grandparents when they were bedridden, but I also have another business for home care. So one of my clients asked me to visit the patient, visit the husband to the rehab. So when I visit the husband and to the rehab, when I get there, I saw these people, the elderly, by the nursing desk, that their head down, no one interacting with them. Mm-hmm. And when no one interacting with them, and then I went to the room of my clients, and I saw him naked in his bed and so untidy, and I felt so sad. So when I felt so sad, and then I'm thinking to myself that I can do better than this.
Yes.
So that's when I started my business for a group home.
That's wonderful, because sadly, we are seeing so many seniors right now being neglected or not getting the care that they deserve. And it is hard to run that and be able to have the staff that knows what they're doing. But for you, it sounds like you're very involved in the daily activities. Is that key to your success?
Yes. I would like to be involved with them, so that the family asks me how's the clients, I know exactly what's going on.
Wonderful. Here, let's move on to you. How long have you run this or own this vacation rental business that's grown into a bit of a Michigan empire, from what I understand? And what was the motivation for you?
Back in 2005, my husband and I purchased a little private island in the UP. I was a teacher. He's a steel worker.
A private island?
A little private island in the
What's this
peninsula.
island?
I know, it's fun.
We should buy.
We had no idea the maintenance that would be required and how hard it is to get a plumber to go to an island, or a roofer for that matter. But we've done it, and so we started that in 2005, and so 19 years later, and then in 2008, 2007 we purchased another place, and we thought we'd just keep purchasing things until the 2008 recession hit. Then we were like, oh no, and then I was pregnant. So we had to find a way to make lemonade out of the lemons we were handed, because all of a sudden our values of our properties dipped very quickly. So we started working with other property owners to do what we do, and everybody wanted to save their cottages, save the family homes. So we jumped on that bandwagon and started helping people to save their homes by renting out the weeks they weren't using. And so that grew from R2 to now 169 properties across Michigan.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, that's great. And I'm assuming the pandemic unlike the recession, though, the pandemic did help you because everybody was looking for a place to go that they were safe or be able to be and then still get away at the same time.
Right, it was scary at first. At first it was a complete shutdown, and then we had to find a way to be creative, like blocking off the 3 days before and the 3 days after. But then we were trying to be sensitive to neighbors and local communities across Michigan. So it was a big deal.
What do you think sets you apart, though, from some of the other rental companies or vacation rentals? Because there are more, a lot of people are doing that these days.
We really listen to our guests. We really listen to our guests. We listen to our property owners. We have unique contracts for property owners so that people can really fit into and get what they need. You know, for example, cleaning is the biggest deal in our business. That's the only area we have to be perfect in. There's no exception. And so you could have the most beautiful house along Lake Michigan, and if it's dirty, forget it.
Right.
So we have to be perfect in our cleaning, and so we really push hard to make sure that all of our places, you know, meet the needs of our guests. Guests are not as flexible as they used to be. Guests, the expectations
They have different
are higher.
expectations, right?
So we work with them, and so we listen to our guests really closely.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, now we have Leilani, baby 7 weeks ago. She has a 7-week-old child.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I mean, that's a newborn, basically. You're still wearing the same clothes every day normally, so I give you a lot of credit for being here today with us. But you own your own catering company that has continued to grow. Tell us about that and how you got started. Was it in your kitchen? Were you always a great cook?
So, the funny thing is, I actually am not the cook, it's my husband. So I have more of an event planning background. I did a lot of event planning. I did that for years, a little over 10 years. My husband is actually a chef, so he's been all over, done so many different things for over 30 years. And we both were working for different companies. Never really got to see each other. We were kind of like in passing. I would go in, he was coming. So as we started to have kids, we were like, hey, this isn't working. So I was like, why are we doing this? Why don't you do the food? I plan events, I book parties, and we got this. He was like, no, you're crazy. And I was like, we can totally do this. So for the first few months, he was still working, I wasn't working. And I just was trying to build our business, planning, going out there networking. And he was just in the kitchen, doing stuff, cooking away. And eventually about 6 months after that happened, we went full force and just solely catering.
Oh my gosh, that's great. So with that though, customer service for all three of you has to be key. I mean, in a way where one comment maybe can really, in the world of social media or online presence, can sometimes impact your whole business. How do you make sure that you, or try to avoid that from happening? And feel free to answer it.
Make sure our values are aligned. Make sure our values are aligned. Kindness is number one, and we put ourselves in the shoes of our guests. We all think in the office all the time, what would we want? And so we make sure that we really listen to our guests, and especially the people who just say, oh, we're fine, don't worry about it. I'm like, are they really fine? Do they really need somebody out there? Do they really need and so we really listen closely. And so, and we're keeping our values aligned, because we want to bring joy to each vacation or even business trips. We want people to experience joy, and we want owners to have peace of mind about their properties when they work with us too. They're giving us their beautiful investments, and so we want to make sure that we take good care of them and take care of our
Rosalia,
guests.
for you, I mean, you're dealing with people who are vulnerable too, and sometimes that can be very challenging as well, to be able to get that, to find out the feedback, answer people's questions when they're dealing with some really tough things.
Yes, it's very difficult, but since you get to know the patients and the family, you have to you have to communicate all the time with the family, and you have to be a good listener to both of them.
They can tell the difference, I think, between people who work with heart and the people who just work like it's a factory or it's a business, it's cold. So do you think that putting that personal touch makes a difference?
It's very important, especially last COVID, when it's mandatory that they have a 6 feet away when they are going to visit their loved ones. And of course, we cannot do anything about it because it's a mandatory. So yes, it's hard for the patients, and also it's hard for the family too.
Right. For you, Leilani, I mean, in the world of social media too, do you have a strong presence, and how key is that to your success with the feedback that's out there?
And social media is major for us. So word of mouth, it really does make or break you, but social media, especially nowadays, it makes such a huge difference. So we definitely have a presence. I love it. My husband is actually the social media person. He loves to go on there and post whenever we have different specials or show different events. Because people love to see that. We do stuff, it's kind of like eye candy. So when we see it, we're like, ooh, that looks really good. Let me call them so I can book my event with them. So we do a lot of that and just kind of showcase what we're doing. And Kara, both of the ladies hit the nail on the head. We have to listen to our guests. You have to listen to what they're wanting. We do a lot of special events, and these are, one-time type of things for your weddings and huge anniversaries. So we have to listen to what they're wanting. So that's one of the first things that I do when I sit down with them is, what are you looking for? And just make sure that that day of the event, they don't have a care in the world. They're just there to enjoy themselves, experience that, and we take everything on for them.
This might be interesting to some. The biggest challenge you had when you were starting your business, or perhaps in your journey that you faced, and how did you overcome it? Because you have 3 different industries or 3 different businesses with specialties, and you can pick it up, Leilani, from there. Do you have something that stands out in your mind that you said, oh, I feel defeated, how am I going to get past this?
Okay, so as Taryn mentioned earlier, we have our catering, but we also have the cafe as well that we've had for a little over 2 years now. So for the catering aspect, one of the things that we noticed when we were doing some different events when we first started out was there's so many caterers out there, right? There's food trucks, there's all these different companies, and a lot of times we would go to events and we have the same stuff. And we're like, okay, we can't keep doing this. We have to figure out what's our niche. So that was a huge thing for us, was trying to find out, hey, what are we gonna serve? What do we wanna do? How do we wanna make ourselves different from the rest? So we went into full service. Since he's been doing stuff for over 30 years, he knows how to make almost everything. So that's what we kind of did for that challenge. And then for our cafe, our biggest challenge really was staff, just trying to find good help. I think there's so many of us out there that know what that feels like. So that was the huge thing, is just trying to find that. And a lot of that worked out for us by reaching out to the people that we knew in our circle, and they would recommend, and going based off of that, and that's how we were able to overcome that challenge.
What about you, Kara?
Trying to figure out which markets, should we tap into one certain market? Should we do Traverse City? Or should we so we instead chose to cover the whole state. We started working there isn't any place in Michigan you can go, and we normally have a vacation rental within an hour. So we decided to cover the whole state versus just stay localized with one area. But our office is in Wyandotte. And that's because our son had 4 living grandparents when we started the business, and we wanted to stay close. So we actually, so that was a big challenge, to figure out how to keep the market going and how to work with all these individual markets, because that means we have to have different relationships with each of those communities, and find the different cleaners and find the different, handy people. And so that has been a challenge. On top of the accounting, our business has a lot of detailed accounting, and the guest expectations have just gone through the roof lately. So that's been a big change. Back in 2005, you'd see a mouse on the island, and you're like, oh, it's 2005, you're in the middle of nowhere, there's a mouse. Now, if somebody sees a mouse, it is all over social media, it's all over reviews, and so we have to do everything in our power to mitigate those things, but it's still in the middle of nowhere. And so, and then, little things like shampoo and body wash. Those are expectations now that were never there. Back in 2005, some of you may remember, you actually brought your own sheets and your own towels to vacation rentals. Now it's an expectation that we have all of those things on top of shampoo and body wash and coffee pods and your spices and things like that. So,
and what about you, Rosalia? Because you're a little different in what you face on a day-to-day basis. What sort of challenges do you face along the way?
Challenge is staffing. After the COVID, I do not know where's the workers go. I do not know.
No one does.
I posted everywhere, but it's so hard to find workers. But since, I always show it to my workers, my presence workers, my appreciation that they stay with me. And of course, we also have this, we have continuously education and learning and recertifying every year. So that, we continue to do what we have to do to give our clients or my patients to have a better care. First class care.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. You have to motivate your staff, right, and inspire them and reward them. What about in the world we live in? Obviously, women have come a long way, and still have a ways to go in how we're treated. But, for the most part, things are moving in the right direction. For you in business, especially being business owners, do you feel it's become better? Are you treated now more with respect? Do you feel that maybe you're treated differently sometimes because you're a woman? And if so, how do you overcome that?
It's definitely a challenge at times, like for example, calling a contractor. Let's say in Southwest Michigan. When I call a contractor and get a quote, and then my blue collar husband calls the contractor and get a quote, it's a little different. They're different, it doesn't take $800 to install a washer and dryer. But when I call, it is, and then he gets a different quote.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that feels different. It's frustrating, but it's not impossible to, so I have to keep people like my husband, and we have a great team of people in our office. So we have to keep working together and, but yeah, keeping a good team of people around me. I can't do it on my own. My table 5 are wonderful. And so that's what I feel is the biggest challenge to be.
Right. Rosalia, do you face challenges as a female business owner?
Not really. They just only my workers, they keep calling me ma'am, which is I do not like. I always say no, we have to say it in our names, and we are all the same.
Yeah. And Leilani, so you work with your husband too, so that might be a bit of a balance.
It really is, and it really is. Like Cora said, my husband, he'll get a different response when he calls for something, and I'll get a different response. So I have to make sure that whenever I'm calling somebody for something, I know exactly what I'm looking for. But it's so funny because on the flip side, whenever we meet people or do I sit down with clients for proposals or I'm doing interviews, it kind of seems like people are wanting to make sure that they are on my good side and that they make sure that they're answering everything correctly and giving me the good. And I'm like, what? I'm just like my husband. You can talk to me just fine. But they it's almost like they get a little intimidated. So I really don't see that in that aspect. So it's so funny that it has that like that.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so we're getting a little bit of a wrap sign. So I want you each to give one sentence or one piece of advice for a woman that might be interested, or anybody who might be interested in starting their own business. What advice would you give them very quickly?
Okay.
First thing that comes to your head.
Be passionate and be good listeners, and you should know your clients, what needs and wants, and be honest of your any dealings.
Kara?
Honesty is very important, and really follow your gut. Follow your gut. And one thing I did before I left teaching to do the business full time was I thought, what would my 70-year-old self say to my 40-year-old self right now? So I thought about that, and I was told go for it. So
That's wonderful.
I would just say be passionate in what you're looking at wanting to do, be confident, and know your market. Know what you're looking at wanting to do and do your research so you know where you're going to be doing that at. And go for it. You can totally do it.
And I'm assuming that when tough times come, just push forward. Push forward. Well, congratulations to you all and your success. You show what it's about, that working hard pays off. So thank you for being with us today.